events. The American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
Here in the Sand Hills region of North Carolina, we've got cool temperatures, an off and on misty day, and a $430,000 pot of gold. Welcome everyone to our coverage of a special drag race at Rockingham International Dragway, the Winston Invitational. It's not about championship points, but rather great competition for a lot of money. $10,000 just for qualifying number one in the 3 pro category. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Evans. Now the $10,000 to the number one funny car qualifier went to Jim White at the wheel of the Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona. That wasn't unexpected. He qualifies number one a lot. What was unexpected is this man, Freddie Neely, the number 2 qualifier, career best 5:37. Great job.
Oh, thank you, Steve. We was proud of the 5:37. We had a pretty good outing at Gainesville till we red lighted our first round. And, you know, it's been on my mind for 3 weeks, and I'm just glad to get here and get this race on and get that out of my mind. And then we come up and step up and qualify number 2 here with a 5:37. I'm tickled to death.
It was warm and sunny when you qualified. It is now cool and misty. Big change.
Well, we've made some changes in the engine. Jimmy Proc's been helping us out. Pete Minor's got the clutch tuned up, and I think we've made the final adjustments to go down this track, I believe.
Have you ever gone into eliminations more confident than you are today?
Not really. You know, being number 2 qualifier brings your confidence right up instead of qualifying from the bottom of the pack.
Good luck round 1 coming up.
Thank you, Steve. We need it.
All right, now let's go to Brock Yates, who is with the number 1 qualifier in Top Fuel.
Well, Steve, I'm with Dick LaHaye, who waited until the last round of qualifying to squeeze out Joe Amato by 18 one-thousandths of a second to pick up top qualifying spot here. And also, you missed the magic 4s by 2 one-thousandths of a second. So, Dick, you're pretty well set for first round anyway.
Well, I think so. I mean, you know, I would hope so that we can go out there and repeat. This car's been kind of bothering us this year. It's eluded the 4-second runs. I mean, it's run 5 flat 4 or 5 different times now, and it's one of these days we're going to step it up a little bit, I guess.
How about today? Can we get in the 4s today?
I'm sure that we can. You know, the track's excellent, and if the cloud cover stays like it is, I'm sure you're going to see more than 1 4-second run.
You heard it from the 1987 Winston champion. And now let's go to Big Daddy Don Garlitz for the 3rd pro category.
Well, Brock, that category is pro stock. And I'm with the car and driver that is the defending champion at this event and is also a 2-time winner. Now, as you come into this event, Jerry, you're only qualified number 7. Now, I know you'd like to be a 3-time winner. What kind of tricks have you got up your sleeve to show these guys how to get to the finish line?
Man, Don, I can't divulge all my tricks. I just know that we ran pretty good yesterday afternoon when the chips were down. The session was slower, and I think we got a handle on this track now, and I think we're going to do pretty well.
How about this heavy humidity? We've had a lot of rain last night. Does that affect these normally aspirated engines?
Oh, absolutely. That really knocks the oxygen out of the air, and these things just thrive on that oxygen to run good. But we're all in the same game, so he's got the same problem. So we'll just run a little slower, but hopefully I can get to the finish line first.
No speeding up the blowers or adding more nitromethane here, huh?
No, not in this category.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Good luck. It's time now for round 1 of Top Fuel action. And for that, let's go to Steve Evans.
All right, thank you, Big Daddy. And the first pair of ground pounders feature Laurie John versus Kenny Bernstein. Now, Pro Stock was a 16-car field. They've run round 1 earlier today. Top Fuel and Funny Car, a very elite, compact 8-car field, and this is round number 1.
Well, I tell you, 8-car field's tough. There's a lot of good cars that make this show.
Well, these 2 cars qualified very close together. Bernstein at a 5:06, Laurie Johns at a 5:07. Because he was the quicker car in qualifying, Kenny Bernstein has the lane choice, and as I think we'll see many of the heavy hitters do, has selected this near lane. I don't know if it's psychological, if the lane really is better, but we'll see a lot of them over in that near side.
This is a brand new car for Lori John, so I think that speaks highly of her crew to get that right into the show first time out.
It is a brand new car for Lori John. She qualified at number 5. It had never turned a tire when it arrived here Thursday afternoon. She's from Corpus Christi, Texas. Kenny Bernstein qualified number 4, one position higher at 5:06. Bernstein has won 2 races this year, the Arizona Nationals and the Super Nationals in Houston. He loves this new Al Swindle-built car.
You know, it's hard to believe that Lori Johns is only in her 2nd season of Top Fuel competition. Well, then, young lady from Corpus Christi, Texas, already won 3 national events. What a start.
Oh, absolutely. And I think winning 3 last year, she expected bigger things than she's received in 1991. She appears to me to be a little bit worried about getting that next win. All right, they are staged and ready. Kenny Bernstein left the starting line before the Christmas tree system was ever activated. That is the most incredible thing I've ever seen from Kenny Bernstein. Brock Yates is with Lori's crew chief Larry Meyer at the starting line.
Well, that red light makes it kind of easy to start out with. What do you think about the pass otherwise?
Starting line looked pretty good. I wish you would have drove it through, and now we don't know where it'll run. But no, the track looks excellent.
Good. Well, second round coming up.
Thanks.
Larry Meyer.
Well, as we watch this replay, we're going to see that something happened in the car of Bernstein. It wasn't even time for the start of the race. He had just barely staged the car, and Bernstein is underway. You can see that Lori John started with the green light, so it was like 2 different car races.
Lori, I don't know when your birthday is, but don't expect a gift from Kenny Bernstein. You just got it in round 1.
Well, today isn't my birthday, but it's my dad's, so that's my present to him. I don't like to play starting line games, but that one definitely worked.
The car lost traction. You had a problem?
No, that was a stupid mistake on my part, which I should have been on camera. But the only reason the car got shut off was due to something that I did wrong. I got flustered over what happened on the starting line, and I was so excited that I screwed up, and I had to let off because one of the levers that I pull inside, I pulled the wrong one, and if I'd have continued, I would have burnt the motor up, so I just let off and coasted through.
You learn from every race.
That's right.
I would sure like to see Bernstein's time slip and get a little bit more information on that situation.
Well, in the meantime, Big Daddy, the man you see doing his burnout there, Don the Snake Prudhomme, one of the great names in this sport, who will have lane choice against Jim Head. Prudhomme with a 5.05.9 ET versus a 5.1 for the Columbus, Ohio native.
Well, Jim Head, he's already had his gift, and it came from Scott Colletta, who was unable to appear. Head was really the ninth qualifier and has gotten in here as what they call the first alternate. He slid into the slot vacated by the troubled Colletta. Well, Don Prudhomme already this year has exceeded anything last year, except for he hasn't crashed 3 cars yet this year, which he did in 1990. So all in all, the stakes is having for him a pretty good second year back in Top Fuel. As you said, he qualified number 3 at that 5:05. He's been runner-up at 2 events this year and has hit a career best of 4.93 seconds. Now, Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio, is always the experimenter. His car is narrower than anybody else's. It's got all kinds of aerodynamic devices on it. Lord knows what primers and fuel system things it may have.
Well, he's an engineer by profession, Don Garlitz, and I guess that may tempt him a little bit to experiment, huh?
I think he's the #1 innovator in our sport today as far as trying new ideas. Now, they don't always work, but it puts a lot of fun in the sport.
Absolutely. The Skull Bandit at Don Prudhomme versus Jim Head. A terrific lead by both. And something goes wrong with the blower belt. Came off of Prudhomme's car, the belt that drives the supercharger. He immediately was out of power. Jim Head goes on to win it at 5:11.270. The Snake at 5:37, coasting at 195 miles per hour.
And meanwhile, back in the pits, John Force's crew chief Austin Coyle doing a little manicuring work on a brake caliper as he gets his man ready to go against Del Worsham in round 1 of funny cars. Oswald's crew getting his car ready as he will face Mike Dunn in the upcoming funny car round number 1. But right now, let's go down to Steve Evans with Jim Head, who just knocked off Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Even though you didn't have lane choice, even though you got in as an alternate, you went aggressively after that lane.
Why not?
5:11.
Yeah, it's a good racetrack, and it was rattling tires pretty hard, so I got after the brake just to be safe. And Don was on a real good pass. He blew up.
See you second round.
Okay, thanks.
So Jim Head's good fortune continues. Remember, he got in as an alternate, and then Don Prudhomme loses a blower belt, so he advances to round number 2, Don Garlitz.
Sometimes I'd rather be lucky than fast.
I've heard that. What a pair we've got here. The number 1 and number 2 top fuel drivers in the country. Joe Amato, that's number 1, his wife Jerry out in front. And his opponent will be Gary Ormsby. They battled last year right down, not just to the final race, but the final round in the final race to determine the champion.
Steve, did you notice those clouds behind Jerry Amato? A lot of humidity in the air. Up on the tuners.
That's right. They may have to step up the blowers a little bit on these cars. A lot of similarities between these two teams. First of all, there's Gary Ormsby in his mid-40s, a very successful car dealer, driving a brand new, debuted here, state-of-the-art Al Swindle car. Then there's Joe Amato, opposite side of the country from Pennsylvania. He is qualified number 2, much quicker to 501. Very similar race car built by Al Swindle, and Joe Amato is a keen businessman in the wholesale auto parts world. And they're both sponsored by oil companies. Valvoline for Joe Amato, Castro GTX for Gary Ormsby.
Surely this is the race of the champions. Joe Amato won it in 88 and 90. Gary Ormsby in 1989.
All right, we're riding with Joe Amato, looking right over that little spoiler on the front axle, and it is Amato. He outpowered Ormsby all the way down the racetrack. A 5:05 to a losing 5:14. Amato goes to the final 4, looking awfully good, Don Garlitz.
And Gary Ormsby's got a bit more sorting out to do of that new car. His reaction time was okay, but the EP, well, at 5:14 just doesn't get it.
All right, here comes Dick LaHaye to the line in search of his first 4-second pass in that race car. But more importantly, looking for victory in round 1 here over young Corey McLenithan from Anaheim, California. But Big Daddy, it looks like McLenithan's engine won't fire.
There's definitely something serious going on there. They're working feverishly on the blower drive, 3 men, and they don't look like they're accomplishing very much. Evidently, the blower must have seized up when they tried to start the engine. Boy, Corey will not be happy about this because they were running quite well.
So the clock ticks on Corey as Dick LaHaye backs up, getting ready to go. But, oh, a wave off. Apparently, they have told Corey it's over. What a disappointment. So Dick LaHaye, though, the lucky winner here, he's going to have a single. But Corey McLenithan obviously disappointed. That is young Kim LaHaye. Dick's daughter is a crew chief on that automobile. Corey just stalks away. He is furious. I can understand it. You really get your adrenaline up for a pass like this, and suddenly it's over. So it's Kim LaHaye, guy dead back to get ready for his single. Let's go to Steve with Joe Amato.
Joe, anytime you and your team race Gary Ormsby, well, you're always up for it.
Well, Steve, we always seem to be running him for championships lately, so, the team goes their best job, and Joe Amato has to take the pressure and do his best job.
A 5:05 on a questionable racetrack, not bad.
Well, the weather got a lot hotter, and you don't know what's going to happen after a rain like it did this morning and last night, so, the guys did a good job getting the car ready, and hopefully we'll get a couple more wind lights today.
I know there's a 4 in your car. Is there a 4-second run in the track?
Well, that's the big question. If you try and get the 4-second run, you go up in smoke sometimes, so, you try and get the wind light and win the race. We'd like to get Winston's 25,000, but by later in the day, if the sun stays a little cool, and you never know.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So Joe gets ready for round 2 as he moves by Gary Ormsby in a convincing fashion. And Dick LaHaye ready to go, Steve.
Dick LaHaye with $10,000 in his wallet for qualifying number 1. He's from Lansing, Michigan. And even Joe Amato, who had been low until LaHaye ran that 5 flat in qualifying, was overjoyed for LaHaye. He's running without a corporate sponsor. And Joe Amato, more than anyone, knows how expensive it is to run these cars. And he was happy for LaHaye to get that traveling money. And boy, does LaHaye ever flash down the racetrack as they push off the Mac Attack car. He will have lane choice by, well, a freight train length over Laurie John with a 5:05 at 270 miles per hour.
So that sets up the pairings and top fuel for the final 4. Laurie Johns versus Dick LaHaye. LaHaye has the lane choice. Both of the cars kind of got an easy go into the final 4. The second pair is Joe Amato versus Jim Head. Amato has the lane choice. Maybe Jim Head's luck will hold for still another round.
Well, Dick, you got exactly what you wanted on that buy run, and that's lane choice over Laurie Johns with a 5:05.
Well, that's, lane choice could be very important, but I think the lanes are pretty equal right now.
We could see a lot of raw fuel, especially on the right side of the motor. Running it very safe, it would appear very rich.
We've been having that problem all year long. The thing won't run on 8 cylinders clear to the finish line, and it runs like crazy the first part of the racetrack, and we just can't pick it up in the last half. And I think we found it yesterday, but we're going to keep running it the way we have been.
Joe Amato and Tim Richards told me this morning this is a LaHaye kind of racetrack. They're worried about you today.
Well, I hope so. Let's see what happens, John, as the day progresses.
We'll be down here to see Dick LaHaye in the second round.
Okay, Steve, as Dick LaHaye gets ready to go, that is Austin Coyle, the man who has brought John Force so much success in recent years. He will get that race car ready as John Force faces Del Worsham. The Invitational is crew chief Larry Meyer works on Lori John's dragster. But earlier, Steve gathered up some of drag racing's better-known personalities for some fun.
Here in this absolutely incredible Winston Motorsports Pavilion, there's a lot of things for the fans to see and do, and everybody is welcome. There's slot car racing and movies and displays, and one particular hands-on exhibit. The fans organize themselves into teams of 5 and actually go through a Winston Cup stock car pit stop. Well, instead of fans, we have got 5 of drag racing's best crew chiefs with no practice are going to give it a go. All right. What about you, Larry Meyer?
I'm the man who gives the tires to the people who's going to change them.
Okay, that is Lori John's crew chief. For Kenny Bernstein, Dale Armstrong. Dale, what's your responsibility?
I'm going to change the front tire.
All right. Upholding Ed McCullough in the outer pops funny car, Bernie Federley.
I'm going to be a jack man.
Okay. Kim LaHaye for the LaHaye family.
I'm changing the rear tire.
And from the John Force Castro Oldsmobile, Austin Coyle.
I'm going to put the fuel in.
You're going to try to put the fuel in. All right, is everybody ready here? Are we ready? All right, let me get out of the way. Okay, let the pit stop commence. Dale Armstrong on the front tire. He's used that air wrench many times, but on cylinder heads, not on wheels. Kim LaHaye on that back tire. Kimmy's got it off. Austin Coyle simulating the gas fill up. The official NASCAR 11-gallon can. Uh-oh, Armstrong's having problems lining the studs up with the holes in the wheel. He's got them on. The time to beat is 24.48 seconds up by the fans. That's already down. Bernie Federley, you don't have to adjust the jack. All right, we're back on the wall. Well, it's not a record time, guys. It's not a record time, but you look pretty good.
No, we didn't. We look terrible.
Now, your boss owns a NASCAR car. You never tried this at the race?
I have never done it before in my life. I think I will again either.
Give you a little respect for what those guys go through, huh?
Yeah, really.
Thanks, all of you. Great job. How about it, folks, huh? Now, there's a reason why Dale Armstrong was trying to put that wheel on backwards. That's the way Larry Meyer delivered it to him. Maybe our next NASCAR race guys will take a funny car like John Force's down and see how Richard Childress boys do, stripping down a motor like these guys do. Everybody has their own skills. And there's Austin Coyle out in front of a very skillful driver, John Force. And you're about to see the ritual raising of the body by Austin Coyle as he engages the second Magneto. Now, they are up against, you'll be up against as you ride along board, a 21-year-old kid from Southern California, Del Worsham, who has never driven any drag racing car except for that one right there. But he grew up around these machines, so he's comfortable with them. His dad has been a crew chief, Chuck Worsham, for a long time. Force is quite the contrast. Of course, he's the Winston champion now, but over the years, he has driven every rattle-trap funny car you can possibly imagine, not only here, but even overseas.
Went years before he won an NHRA event, and a lot of people thought he was just snake-bit that he never would win. And then all of a sudden, when he started to win, he couldn't lose.
That's right. He didn't stop.
Classic matchup, the old man versus the kid.
Absolutely, and John Force has really had to drive the wheels off this thing to outrun the youngster, but he does it. That was experience coming into play. Force at 5:41 defeats a quicker Del Worsham, who ran a 5:40. You just need a little more time in these cars to get that quick off the starting line, Don Garland.
When I see a start like this, it reminds me of the old days of Herb Parks. He'd come down to the end and say, looks like you gave the kid a driving lesson, and that's just what John Force did. He showed Del Worsham how to get off the starting line first, and that's what it took, because Worsham actually ran better than John Force as far as the ET is concerned, but he lost the race.
John Force, it's a good thing you were on your toes, because that kid over there ran quicker than you did.
Hey, I left on him for once?
Got it.
He does a good job. It's good. A racetrack come around. 2 reasons we come here. One, to beat McCullough, and number 2 was to win money, and all that's left is money, and that's what we're going for here.
Yeah, McCullough didn't even qualify. This was a benefit for you a year ago.
It was really good. A good chance to make money, but tough racetrack. Tricky. Cars with a lot of power. We're having some trouble out here, and McCullough was one of them that got bit by it. But
you feel that the racetrack will take more power than you gave it that time?
Yeah, I don't even know what to run. What'd she run?
41.
Well, she was weak. Coil's a little nervous, I can tell, this morning. She'll come around.
Okay, John Forth to the round of 4.
Okay, before we have more funny car action, let's go to Don Garlitz, who's with Kenny Bernstein's crew. Remember, they went out with a disastrous red light in round 1.
Kenny Bernstein's crew are preparing the car, but not for the next round. It's for the next race. Now, Kenny has enjoyed some superior reaction times this year. He's been brilliant on the starting line. A lot of them are very close to perfect, .405, .408. So we all just assumed that when he red lit in the first round, he had squeezed the tree too tight. Well, I came back and had a look at his time card because I wanted to see for myself. Kenny had a 000 on the card for his time. Well, that tells me that he left at least 0.4 of a second too soon, maybe even earlier. I kind of suspect that what happened was he was looking at the tree, really severe concentration. He saw the stage light came on for the competitor, and Kenny left. It happened to me plenty of times. That's my bet.
I'll put money on that, Steve. When Big Daddy tells you about anything that can happen on the starting line of a drag race, I believe it.
Well, plus, Big Daddy knows that Kenny Bernstein has an intense desire to beat Laurie John. We now have 2 very high-quality funny cars. In the black car with the Snickers logo emblazoned on the side is Mike Dunn. His crew chief is his father, Big Jim Dunn. That's a team with a significant chance to win the Winston Championship this year. And he's up against Mark Oswald, who won the Gator Nationals just 3 weeks ago for the new funny car team of Jeff and Susan Bernstein. They raced top field races with no success. They went to a funny car, and Oswald gives them a win, first time out of a 5.
That's the kind of performance out of a driver that really makes an owner feel like they're in the right business.
And they got the right crew chief on that car, too, and that being Bill Schultz from the West Coast. So it's Mike Dunn versus Mark Oswald, 2 young drivers with equal experience and equal automobiles. And there's an equal start. But at half track, Oswald asserts himself at 5:38. Shut it off a little early, only 249 miles an hour. Dunn couldn't catch him at 5:52 and a much faster speed of 264 miles per hour. Stay with us for more of the Winston
Okay, back at the Winston Invitational. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans and Big Daddy Don Garlitz as we got a pair of Southerners coming in the line in round 1 of funny cars. Al Hoffman out of Florida, Freddie Neely from Covington, Georgia.
You know that problem that Corey McClanahan had in round 1 of Top Fuel? Well, Don Garlitz is in his pit for this report.
Well, Steve, let's see what happened to Corey's car. As they started the engine prior to the first round, the supercharger belt is supposed to be riding on this pulley. Well, you can see right here there was some unraveling in the fabric. Something went wrong. The belt rode back on the pulley, rubbed real hard on the blower case, and you can see the rubber there vulcanized to the magnesium blower. Smoke started coming off of the pulley. The crew chief very wisely shut the car off because if they'd have tried to make the run, they could have destroyed the supercharger, could have hydraulic the engine, been a lot of major damage. As it is, all they have to do is get a new belt. They'll be back to race again.
But it cost them several thousands of dollars today, maybe as much as $25,000, which is the top prize in Top Fuel. We're looking at Freddie Neely. Remember, I talked to him at the top of the show. His Forever Young car qualified number 2. Really a thrill for young Freddie. In fact, Freddie started his Nitro funny car career right at this race a year ago. Al Hoffman, well, he's been flogging funny cars across 2 continents for about 15 years. He really had most of his success in Australia, believe it or not, and is still trying to get his first big NHRA win. But he's got a great crew chief in Tom Anderson. Now, Freddie Neely started his career 1 year ago from Covington, Georgia, and he, too, has a good crew chief in Pete Miner.
Both of these young drivers are enjoying the best season ever. It's totally amazing to see the cars come from it. Like a year ago, they weren't even hardly running good, and today Hoffman is a major contender.
Al Hoffman, far lane, the Floor Drive Service Special. Freddie Neely running on his own paycheck. Hoffman finally in. And Neely has problems, big problems as a result of excessive tire spin. Whoa, boy. Hoffman suddenly has stepped up as a real player. A 539, 268 miles per hour. The engine clean and dry, not a wisp of smoke or oil. That's impressive, Big.
Yes, it is, and it's important for them because they don't have a big crew over there to maintenance that thing. They can't put a lot of parts in that car between rounds.
Well, that's right. They do not. In fact, when they do need help, they just kind of put their arms up in the air and somebody comes running over from another team.
Okay, the hits just keep on coming here at Rockingham. That's Jim White in Hawaii doing his burnout. He will face Richard Hartman. White with lane choice. But before that race, let's go to Steve with Al Hoffman, who just won his race.
Well, Al Hoffman and crew chief Tom Anderson have been struggling a little bit with this car, but it appears maybe that struggle is over. A solid 539, Al, and no smoke out of it.
Super. We're happy. We've been waiting for this. We've been problem after problem, just little stuff. The car runs on 8, it runs 20s. I think it dropped the cylinder when we stepped on it, but it's okay.
That's easy to fix. That's easy to tune up. You know that.
Boy, I hope we go all the way here. I'll tell you, we need it. Not only for me, but I just found out my father has a real bad health problem, and I'd like to win this for him.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
So, extra incentive certainly for Al Hoffman and his team as he heads into round 2. But right now, we've got Richard Hartman and Jim White backing into position, and White, Steve Evans, has chosen what seems to be the less popular lane, even though he has the choice.
But that's where Jim White and Roland Leon's Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona recorded low elapsed time of this entire event. Other people may not like it. He thinks it's just fine. It made him 10 grand. Now, Richard Hartman, I think, is going to be real happy that White's over there. Hartman, only 22 years of age. He qualified in the 8th spot, barely made the show. But this is where he ran the best. So I think everybody's got what they want here.
Well, let's not forget that we just saw Al Hoffman run a really stout time in that lane that Jim White is in, too. So it can't be all bad.
Terrific start. Oh, it's a great race. And right at the finish line, Richard Hartman comes around. They left right together. Hartman outpowers White by 2/100ths of a second. This is the biggest upset of the Winston Invitational so far. This year or any other year. Big Daddy, let's watch it again.
Well, the start was just perfect. The guys were just tied together on the starting line, but as they moved down track, it seems like the Hawaiian's car fell off just a little bit, like maybe some of the power wasn't there, but he might have still salvaged the race had it not been for this tremendous wing explosion. Right there you see it. The parts start coming off the car. It loses traction, giving Richard Hartman the win. That sets up the pairing for the Funny Car Final 4. John Force versus Richard Hartman, and Force has the lane choice. The second pair is Al Hoffman versus Mark Oswald. Oswald has the lane choice.
Going to be interesting. Force, Oswald favorites, Hartman, Hoffman underdogs. Now, let's go to Steve with Jim White.
Jim White, sorry to see you out in round 1, but what's going on with the spoiler? It's coming apart on you.
Yeah, somewhere about past half track, and I don't know really exactly where. The side dams of the spoiler came off. The thing we had it on maximum downforce. It was doing just a fine job, and then all of a sudden it turned loose. The car got real loose. I'm sure that's why it spun the tires and we got beat.
Were you surprised when your team put you over in that far lane at all?
Not at all. We beat ourselves at Gainesville, as you might remember, because we put the car in the wrong lane. Our car just does different than some of the other cars. We looked at our computer tapes. Our tape said the left lane was the best lane for us. We ran 31 there. We ran 34 there. We ran 36 twice in the other lane. For some reason, the car just fell off, and we'll fix it.
Well, you need to explain to people these cars don't have much of a spoiler to begin with. If you lose a quarter of an inch, you're in trouble.
If you lose a quarter of an inch, you're in trouble. But when you lose the side dams off the complete spoiler, then the air just flows off the back. You've got a major problem.
See you down the road.
A tough break for Jim White, and one of the more bizarre failures on a funny car over the years as we watch Tim Richards getting Joe Amato's car ready for his run against Jim Head in the Top Fuel Final 4. We'll be back with more from Rockingham, North Carolina, right after this. Back at Rockingham, North Carolina for more Winston Invitational action as round 2 of Pro Stock gets ready. It'll be Jerry Ackman versus Scott Jeffreyon. But first, let's go to Steve Evans, who's with Freddie Neely, to find out what happened to him in round 1 of Funny Car.
Freddie, 2 days ago, you came out and ran about as well as you ever have in your life. You had 2 opportunities to run yesterday, did not, I'm sure, due to budgetary reasons. Does that hurt you in the first round?
Well, I don't think that was a problem, Steve. We had the rear end housing come loose. The center section came loose from the rear end housing, shot rear end grease under the tires, and I believe that's the reason we smoked the tires real hard.
But had you run yesterday in qualifying, you might have found that problem.
That's exactly right, but in this deal, you always second guessing yourself anyway, so, what do you do? Well, all we can do now is look forward for Atlanta next week and hope we got a good outing there in front of the home crowd.
And you go home knowing you have the combination.
Yeah, we're close, you know. We're close to being there to where we want to be, so we'll try it next week and see how we come out. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, let's go pro stock racing. That's Jerry Ekman. He was number 3 in the Winston Point Championships last year, and he will face Scott Jeffrion, who's one of Warren Johnson's teammates in an Oldsmobile, Steve.
Oh, certainly the biggest break of Scott Jeffrion's racing career has been getting this right. Now, how did Jerry Ekman get to the second round? Well, they qualified number 7 at 7:28 in his Trans Am, and then earlier today in round number 1, he met up with another Trans Am, Terry Adams from North Carolina, who was qualified number 10, but Terry fell to the wayside. Now, how exactly did Scott Jeffrion get here? Well, he qualified number 2 at 7:23. First round, that Lee Dean from Maryland. Dean, the 15th qualifier, was no match for Jeffrion.
As in all pro stock races, this is going to be another very close race. Both cars evenly matched, both real good drivers. It's going to be who leaves the starting line first.
Scott Jeffrion has already been in one final this year. He lost to Darrell Alderman in the Dodge in Houston, but I agree with you, Big Daddy. This is a pick'em special here. Jeffrion last to stage. Oh, yeah. You bet. Ekman by a whisker. 732 to a 733. 187 to 188. Wow.
Unbelievable that two cars so different, two different drivers, could leave the line so close together with the tiniest of margins, 0.06 of a second advantage going to Jeffrion. But it wasn't enough. He needed a 0.07 advantage because when he got to the end, there was only 0.01 of a second separating these two cars. And the 733 with a 3 was all it took for Jeffrion to lose. If that had been a 733 with a 2, he'd have probably won.
Jerry Ekman says that had to be close. Close is not the word. How about 0.01 of a second?
I'll take that as long as it's in my favor.
You didn't know you'd won.
No, absolutely not. I knew he was right there with me, and he has a little more steam in high gear. When he got into high gear, I saw him moving, and boy, that speed, Steve, you don't know anything. But I'll take that win.
Unbelievable drag race. Let's see if we can duplicate it with a pair of these professionals, Bob Glidden versus Bruce Allen. Boy, this one could be tight too, Steve.
And the fans love it when the Ford Probe and the Chevrolet Beretta get together. Now, Bruce Allen qualified number 4 at a fine 7:25 in round 1 earlier today. Well, he met up with an old nemesis, that being Larry Morgan in the Castro GTX Oldsmobile, but he handled Morgan. Now, under his wife Etta's urging, Bob Glidden qualified very well, number 5 at a 7:26, and then he met up with the Oldsmobile of Don Beverly. Beverly had qualified number 12, but saw the taillights of that red Ford Probe as they crossed the finish line. So it's Glidden in the far lane, Allen in the near lane. Again, Big Daddy, it's a pick'em deal, don't you think?
Very evenly matched cars, but you know, Glidden is hungry. He wants to get back to those winning ways of the years going by. So I just think he's a little more intense right now than Bruce Allen.
The 10-time champion in the red Ford. Glidden. Hungry, maybe. Off the mark first. And it's enough. Rusty loves it. 7:35 for both drivers. 188 miles per hour for both drivers. Let's quickly go to Don Garlitz in the top fuel pits.
Steve, you're looking at a brand new blower on Dick LaHaye's car. Now, why would he put a new blower on his car when he just ran 5:05? Well, I'll tell you, because he qualified with a 5 flat, and he wants to go quicker. He's afraid that some of the other competitors will get a handle on this high humidity. As I said earlier, it's very difficult to tune a car when the humidity is high because there's too much water in the air, not enough oxygen. So LaHaye had a choice. He had to have less fuel in relationship to the air if he was going to tune the engine up and get it to run on 8 cylinders. Well, he opted to put a brand new supercharger on. That will give him more air. The new Teflon strips will be much tighter. The seal will be better. Then he put a bigger pulley on. This is the pulley he took off. He probably stepped the blower up 3 or 4%. He feels that with the blower going faster, it being brand new, he'll get more manifold pressure. Well, we're going to see if he made the right decision in just a few moments.
Interesting tactic. Now, let's go to Steve.
Good run, Bob.
Pretty close, wasn't it?
Come here.
It's your deal, man.
Bob Glidden loves to race Bruce Allen, and anytime he beats him, he loves to bring Bruce Allen into the picture.
He hates it.
We've lost so much this year. We're so lucky to be together. We better share this time on the tube. So we're going to both get in here.
You shared the same elapsed time, 7:35 for both of you.
Yeah, it was a close race all the way.
It was a good
just
race.
side by each.
Really good race.
Okay. Bob Glidden, though, in the Ford, goes to the Final Four.
Okay, back to the starting line. More Pro Stocks coming up here. That is the winningest car in the circuit at this particular time. Darrell Alderman on the only Dodge in the field, and boy, does he run well against Ricky Smith, Steve.
Well, he runs well against just about anyone. As the 16th qualifier, Jim Yates found out, Yates' Trans Am just couldn't match wheels with that darn Dodge. And Ricky Smith, well, he's flying here this weekend as well. He qualified number 9 with a 7:29. In the first round, he met up with Joe Lapone Jr. Lapone was not as quick up the mark as he usually is. His Berwyn, Pennsylvania-based Beretta, well, it's on the truck.
Well, with the way that Alderman's Dodge has been running today, the only hope that Ricky Smith has got is to weld Alderman to the starting line.
But he's such a darn good driver, that's hard to do. So let's ride in the Dodge Daytona, sponsored by Goldmark Parts with Darrell Alderman. Is Ricky Smith there? He's close, but not quite enough. Darrell Alderman at 7:33 puts away the STP Pontiac with a 7.37. 0.02 of a second, the overall difference when reaction times are included.
Smith actually cut a perfect light, a .400, but it wasn't good enough. The car didn't have enough performance. That's what Johnson would like to cut, a perfect light. In fact, they'd all like to cut a perfect light. But it's very dangerous doing that because you run the risk of a red light.
Darrell, I probably don't need to tell you this. You had a pretty good seat, but Ricky Smith cut a perfect 4.0 light.
Yeah, Steve. Thank God for this Mopar horsepower. It really come through for me in high gear there, and we edged ahead of him a little bit to get the win.
You know, the track has gotten better for the Nitro cars. It's gone backwards for the Pro Stocks, at least yours.
Yeah, it seems like it. We're spinning when we leave the starting line and then spinning on the gear changes, and we just got to get a hold of the track.
And that's all in the clutch?
It's in the clutch.
Go work on it.
Thank you.
All right, Darrell Alderman had a streak going until he lost to Warren Johnson, who is going to face Harry Scribner out of Simi Valley, California. Scribner qualified number 6 at a 7.2. He took out Butch Leal in round 1. Leal, one of the great runners and good on the lights, believe it or not, got beaten in a hole shot by Scribner. Warren Johnson comes in here after a victory in the Gators in his Oldsmobile. He qualified 3rd at 7.2. He knocked off Mark Powett in round number 1.
And Johnson is the only driver all season long who's been able to stop Darrell Alderman in the Dodge. That was his final round opponent at the Gator Nationals. Harry Scribner gambled on the lights, and he lost. A red light, a foul start. Warren Johnson in the far lane is the winner. 7:31, 189 miles per hour. Scribner, unlike Kenny Bernstein earlier, at least waited until the tree was activated. So the pairings for the Pro Stock Final Four find Jerry Ekman's Pontiac up against Warren Johnson's Oldsmobile. Johnson has the lane choice. The other half will be the Ford Probe of Bob Glidden versus Darrell Alderman in the Dodge. Alderman has the lane choice by 0.02 of a second. Stay with us. The skies are even clearing here at The Rock.
Where we're going right to Top Fuel Final Four action. Laurie Johns versus Dick LaHaye. And Big Daddy Don Garlitz, Laurie Johns likes the deep stage. Tell us a little bit about that tactic.
Well, that's the act of going in with your car when both bulbs are on, moving it a little bit further ahead. The top bulb goes out. What you gain is a little better reaction time as far as the numbers on your card, and your ET's a little worse because you don't have that run at the light. And the real advantage is your car is 2 or 3 inches in front of your competitor right to start off.
But it does affect your lap time, which would affect lane choice. Right now, let's watch it. LaHaye was away first. But Laurie Johns outpowers him even with LaHaye's new supercharger. A 5.05 for Laurie Johns to beat Dick LaHaye's 5.13. Pretty good drag race. And even though she deep stage, she still didn't have the better reaction time, Don.
Well, her reaction time would have been terrible if she'd not been deep stage. It increases it quite a bit, that little extra getting out of the light. See, that puts the wheel further into that light, and then when the light comes together and the 18 clock starts, that's when you get your reaction time. As they move down course, you can see that LaHaye's power definitely fell off. and Lori won the race.
Lori Johns is a happy girl with a brand new car. Had never been down a racetrack till Friday, and here we go into the final round.
Oh, I'm so excited. You know, I've been thinking lately that you don't hate the rain until you learn what the sunshine feels like, and until we won some races, it wasn't so hard to lose, and it feels so good to win again.
From half track on, it was no contest. You just thundered away.
Really, what did we run?
5:05.
That's fantastic. I knew we could do it. I knew this car was capable of it, and we've been having a lot of problems, and we have figured out why, and that's just the biggest blessing in the world. You don't know what it's like when you're struggling for so long to figure out what's wrong, and you finally figure it out.
Great job.
Thank you.
All she's got to do now is tune up that reaction time, and she'll be there.
Okay, let's go back to the starting line where the defending champion, Joe Amato, gets ready to go against Jim Head. And Joe has lane choice, and I would imagine Big Daddy, perhaps a psychological advantage a little bit overhead as well. Had scrambled to get in here with an alternate, and then was lucky to get into round 2.
But you know, Jim Head hangs pretty loose. He doesn't worry about it too much. He's not the type of guy that gets real nervous. He actually does this, I think, as a hobby. That's a little different than doing it as a business.
And interestingly enough, Joe Amato does it for both reasons, as a hobby and as a business, and does it very, very well. That's why he wears the big number 1 on his wing. Again, you're on the rocket cam with Joe Amato. You experience the vibration that he feels in the car. Joe Amato defeats Jim Head. Low lap time of elimination, 5.02 seconds to Jim Head's off the pace 5:12. Let's go to Brock Yates with Tim Richards.
Well, Tim Richards, 5:02, low ET. Is that going to work for you against the lady?
Well, I don't know if it'll work against the lady or not. Her 5:05 came with a deep stage, so that's probably worth the 5:02 to 5:01, so that's pretty equal.
So, what do you think this racetrack will take later in the afternoon, Tim?
This racetrack will take a 4-second run. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be that in the final.
Okay, we'll be watching. I hope it's you. Thanks. All the best.
Who's to say it couldn't be side-by-side 4-second runs when Joe Amato versus Lori Johns for the Winston Invitational Top Fuel title? It will be Amato with lane choice. Stay with us for the Funny Car Final 4.
Where you see Bob Gooden's son, Billy, working on that Ford Probe race car as he gets ready to go against Darrell Alderman in the Pro Stock Final 4. But before that, we've got Funny Car Final 4 coming up. Steve Evans and Al Hoffman versus Mark Oswald. Ought to be a good one.
And it's a real contrast. Oswald, who's on a roll, won the Gator Nationals for the new Funny Car team of Jeff and Susan Bernstein. And Al Hoffman, if he gets the win light, it will put him in his first ever NHRA final round.
I just wonder if he'll be able to take the excitement of that, Steve.
Well, you know, he's a pretty calm guy. We say he's from Florida, that's where he lives. But he was born in the Bronx. This ain't pressure, buddy. When you're this Greek kid in New York City, this is fun. Mark Oswald, originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, now living in King, North Carolina. Whoa! In the supposed good lane, Oswald up in smoke. The Hoffman crew loves it. It's history for them. At 5.36 seconds, they're in their first ever NHRA final round. Let's go to Brock at the starting line.
Okay, Tom Anderson, quick word. Good pass by Al, 5:36. You got to be happy with that. What do you think? Is that what's it going to take to win this deal?
Well, I think that'll win it, actually. If we can come back and duplicate that, I think we'll be in good shape.
All right, we'll go get him, Tommy.
Well, I don't believe that Mark Oswald was trying to run any quicker than a 5:35. What do you think happened, Don?
Well, I don't know. I think they just misjudged the clutch just a little bit because the car smoked awful early. It seemed like just as soon as the secondary started in, the tires went up in smoke. Because, you know, that's where the car really gains EP while it's still on that concrete pad. You got to get that clutch in if you want to get a good time. Well, it didn't work that time for him.
Well, down at the far end, there is Al's wife, Helen. She is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in this sport. There isn't anything she can't do on that race car. And what she won't let them do is start celebrating now that they're in a final round. They've either got to face John Force or Richard Hartman for $25,000. And Helen is also the team accountant, as well as wheelie bar manipulator. Well, already they're cackling. Austin Coyle coming out of the cockpit. Now, that wasn't normal, Don Garlitz.
I wonder what he was doing in there. That is definitely not normal. He's something in the cockpit where John Force is. That's what it was. Some pedal movement or something, adjustment.
Who knows? They always pick the body up for that magneto engagement we talked about earlier, but he doesn't go in and have a chat with John. All right, Force will be up against Richard Hartman, another one of the young lions, and Force loves giving these youngsters driving lessons. We saw him do it to one kid already today, Del Worship.
Well, let's see how he does against Richard Hartman. Force has lane choice, only by a little bit, though, so it should be a pretty close race.
Hartman last the stage, not letting Force pressure it. Great lead by John Force, a little clutch step coming into your cockpit, and it is Force, clearly Force, at 5:39, 262 miles per hour, and he had a bit of a reaction time advantage over Hartman as well. Down on the starting line, Brock Yates is with John Force's crew chief, Austin Coyle.
Tom Anderson just told me that he thought maybe that 5:36 that he just ran could win it. Do you think it's going to take more than that?
Oh, I think so. I imagine we can step it up a little in the final. Looks pretty safe out there.
Good. Okay, congratulations.
Well, that sets up the pairings for the funny car final. Al Hoffman versus John Force. Hoffman, that's a name we've not heard in the final. And listen to this. Al Hoffman has lane choice. Let's see what John Force has to say about that.
John Force came out of the car yelling, "Do I have lane choice?" No, you don't, John, but isn't that maybe more a mental thing? You get comfortable in one lane?
Lane's fine, and I just hope my motor's okay so me and Coyle don't have to wrestle back at the pits. I pay this boy good money to make decisions. He looks there, I got 40 pounds oil pressure. Never leave the start line next to you. He go, up to you. Bad deal, right?
How many pounds should it have?
100. And it had 40, so we're racing for 25 grand. Just take it on down. I said, yo, you ought to get in this thing. You ought to take it down there.
It is your car.
Huh?
It is your car.
Huh?
Your decision to make.
With Castrol oil, I've never seen my pressure that low. I swear to God. It's not an oil problem.
He never misses a shot, does he?
So that's what Austin Coyle was doing in the cockpit, looking at the oil gauge. Pro Stock is next.
Yours truly, who tried to do a little backhoeing with a 9-iron and almost broke his arm. And if you think the nitro guys are goofy like John Force there, who also tried to kill a snake with his driver, take a look at the alcohol guys. Alcohol crew chief Mike Austin in the prone position as alcohol dragster driver Alan Johnson tees off.
Whoa!
Those people aren't well.
And I thought Top Fuel was exciting.
Wow, wonder what club he used for that.
A short one, I hope.
All right, here we go. Pro Stock. Darrell Alderman in the Dodge. Up against Bob Glidden in the Ford Probe. This is the final four. The very first pair. Boy, Glidden wants that Dodge so bad Big Daddy dreams about it. And he's got a shot at him, too. Here comes Glidden. Good. By Dodge. Bob Glidden's children celebrating on the starting line. A 7:33. He powered by all right. A 7:39 for Alderman, who had a little edge off the mark. Well, so that puts Bob Glidden in his first final run of the year. Is he going to race Warren Johnson or Jerry Ekman?
Well, we'll soon find out because that's your next pair. Johnson has lane choice, but only by 2/100ths of a second. So he's essentially even with Jerry Ekman in the yellow Trans Am as he gets ready to go against the 91 Cutlass of Warren Johnson. But first, let's go to Bob Glidden.
The Hoosier Grand gets a little broader with every round here at Rockingham, and that's a car you've needed to beat for a long time.
Miracles do happen, Steve. I'll tell you, that guy, Alderman, has really done a job on us for about a year, and it's about time we won a round.
Did you have to go around him a little bit, put a little catch-up maybe in the middle?
I don't think so. I mean, the track's a little bit tricky off the concrete. They've done a great job with the concrete, but mid-track's a little tricky, and I was just paying attention to the track, and I didn't see the nose of his car, so I knew it was over.
Here's some words you love. Bob Glidden is headed for the final round.
That's a switch! Damn, I love it.
All right, well, let's see who his opponent will be, Jerry Ekman or his arch rival, longtime rival, Warren Johnson. How many times have we seen great races between that pair, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, I don't think Bob just cares who he races with. Well, he hit the curve that they both broke, and nobody came back, but that isn't going to happen. Oh, yes. Warren Johnson, decisive at 7:35, defeating Jerry Ekman's likewise 7:35. Johnson had his best reaction time I've ever seen him cut. A 4-1, just 100ths away from perfect.
So that sets up the pairings for the Pro Stock final. It'll be Warren Johnson in the AC Delco Olds against Bob Glidden's Ford. Glidden has the lane choice. And this is going to be one tough race because both of these guys are fierce competitors and not going to cut any slack.
Warren, you've had the power when you needed it, and now you have the reaction time when you needed it. That's a good combination.
Yeah, we just have to put it all together in any one particular run. That run, we just slipped the clutch way too much on the thing. I think I got out on Jerry. Now, as bad as the car was in first and second gear, I was just lucky to win that one.
I'll tell you, Glidden is as fired up as a rookie. He's been struggling, and he's back.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I told you he'd be back.
Absolutely.
Well, and he's back against Warren Johnson. What a race this is going to be for the Pro Stock Champ. That's wife Helen Hoffman helping husband Al suit up for his first ever NHRA final against John Force. But first, let's go to Steve.
If you appreciate truly sophisticated machinery and outstanding graphic presentation, next time at the races, visit the pit of the Pro Stock motorcycles. These 170-mile-an-hour wonders are truly something to see up close, and you won't meet nicer people. If you're already a Pro Stock bike fan, let me tell you this. National Dragster magazine has increased its commitment to the coverage of this class. So, being a member of NHRA, even more valuable than ever before. Ford's is $45 a year. You get a complete subscription to National Dragster, the patch, the pen, the rule book, all kinds of goodies. And if you call the number on your screen right now, you'll get absolutely free a copy of the Diamond B Video Drag Racing 90. Make that call.
Well, the call right now has gone out to John Force and Al Hoffman for the funny car final. And I'll tell you what, Big Daddy, this on paper would look like pretty much a runaway for John Force, but Al Hoffman showed some real strength here at Rockingham.
Al Hoffman has to be the most excited person in drag racing right this moment. This is his first NHRA final, and he comes into this round with a performance advantage. He must be totally up.
Well, he is. I noticed around his pit, but he's got a couple of calming influences. For one thing, his crew chief, Tom Anderson, is a former driver and can offer him some input. But the real glue is the lady with the long red hair. Just before Al Hoffman suited up, I had a chance to talk to his wife, Helen. From Australia to Rockingham, North Carolina, halfway around the world, Helen, how did it all happen?
I fell in love.
With a hot rodder.
Yeah. It's from corporate executive to grease monkey in 3 weeks. After working for someone for 8 years as a personal assistant, and Al was under contract to that man. I met him, and 3 weeks later I resigned.
Came to America.
Came to America. And been here ever since.
A big win, your first, could come in just a few minutes.
Well, I hope so. We sure could use it right now. We sure could use some associate sponsorship help too. This, as we've learned over the last 4 years, it's not a cheap industry. And running with the heroes isn't cheap either.
Good luck. Running a real hero, John Force. Did you notice, guys, she never stopped working. Not one time, and I don't think I even distracted her from what she was doing. Now, that's a true person you'd have been proud to have.
I say it brings tears to my eyes just watching her.
$25,000 from Winston on the line. John Force won it a year ago. Al Hoffman wants it and needs it. Force will take over it, so that's for money. And out in front of Force, you can see Al Hoffman streaking away. Al Hoffman has won the Winston Invitational. The starting line, even the grandstands, have gone just mad over it. Paul Smith got a hug. He was a guy that organized the volunteer help they needed between the rounds. There was Brock Yates. Be careful. She might knock you down.
Great show. Great show. Helen, you got to be just delighted.
I don't know what it run, but we got lucky because it did drop a cylinder.
All right. Hey, we'll take him any way you can get him.
Take him any way we can get him.
Congratulations. Great work. Okay. What a happy crew.
Okay, Big Daddy, let's let you dissect the replay here. What happened to John Force?
Well, in my opinion, they tried to make up that performance difference. Al came into the round with a little better ET, so they brought more clutch, and you saw the car move tremendously off the starting line. And Force didn't cut him any slack on that tree. He had a starting line advantage, but when the tires went up in smoke, it was all over. And he tried to stay in it because he just hoped against hope that something would happen and Hoffman's car would break. It did eventually break right at the very end, but it wasn't in time.
Al Hoffman has won his first ever NHRA Winston event and over $25,000. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I don't know who to thank first.
Tell us about the race first.
I was late. I know that. I don't know what happened. This car, for some reason, when
stepping on a throttle ain't moving right away.
It looked like you might have backed up into some moisture. Maybe your tires weren't quite dry.
It spun a little bit or something, but I'd seen him for a little bit, and then Anderson's tune-up got with it, and it stroked right down through there. So.
Now you can do your thinking.
Yeah, this one was for my father. That's all I can say. You know, we've been trying to do this for 25 years, and this one was for my father.
Again, congratulations to you and a great crew.
Okay, the other thing I want to say is thanks an awful lot, Tom Anderson, BDS. I don't know where to start.
Well, Winston might be a good place.
Right, well, that's probably the top of the list right now, because I'm going to enjoy their money, I'll tell you that.
I think this race car will eat most of it up. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's going to get some new parts. We've got 3 motors in a trailer, but I'm going to turn them over and get 3 new ones now.
I doubt this man, well, not only could he be dangerous, he already is.
Well, they used to call him the underdog, but Al Hoffman will be a force to be dealt with in the funny cars in 1991. Coming up next, the Top Fuel Final. It'll be Joe Amato against Laurie John.
Boy, are they going to celebrate tonight on the Al Hoffman crew. Al hugging everybody. There his wife, Helen. Is she excited? Tom Anderson steps up, the crew chief. What a night it's going to be for this bunch, I'll guarantee you.
It will be a national record for victory parties. Look it up in National Records someday. All right, the Top Fuel Final, Joe Amato against Laurie Johns. If for any reason you might think the appearance of Amato would intimidate Laurie Johns, well, think again. Last year, in her 3 victories, her final round opponent in 2 of those was Joe Amato, and she put him away. Joe remembers that real well.
This time Joe's got lane choice, though, but not by much. So I would imagine, Big Daddy, this is a pretty much heads-up race.
I don't think there's a lot of difference in the lanes. The cars have won out of both lanes today. I don't think that's even a psychological advantage. These are 2 very evenly matched drivers and cars, and I have to give the nod to Amato because I think his reaction time has just been superb, and he's got some tricks that he's been using, so the lady is going to have to outpower him down course.
All right, well, they're just about ready. The Winston Invitational, final round of Top Fuel. Amato is second off the mark, and Laurie Johns is on fire. A blaze out of the back of that motor. It appears to have gone out. Remember, that's a rear-engine car. She's probably okay there. Amato has won it at 5:01, 284 miles per hour. The safety safari concerned with Laurie Johns.
Well, apparently no serious injury to Laurie, but as you say, everything happened behind her, but a bunch of fire that took her out of this drag race about half-track.
As we watch the replay, we see that Laurie does take a little bit of a starting line advantage. Not as much as is indicated by the time card because she was deep stage, but she must have blown some head gaskets out because the engine did continue to run even though it did not have the benefit of a couple of cylinders, and that's what you see there. The heads are throwing fire out of the engine and lots of fire in back, but the car does continue to run pretty good, but Amato is very decisively the winner. Let's see if Laurie's okay.
Laurie Johns being towed off. Laurie, it's hard to lose when you had your heart set on a victory, but in a ball of fire makes it even worse.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, things go wrong, and like they say, Joe knows drag racing, so he's a winner here today. But I feel real happy about our performance this weekend, and I think we're back on the right track. It was an expensive weekend, but we've learned some things, and we've got to if we're going to put in any kind of effort for the World Championship.
You'll get one.
Thanks.
All right, one more drag race left here at the Rock, and it's going to be a great one. Bob Glidden and arch rival Warren Johnson, Oldsmobile versus Ford Probe. What do you think, guys?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be a good race if for no other reason than the fact is that Bob Glidden and Warren Johnson don't even like each other. And that causes them to get so intense on the starting line that they don't know that there's anything else happening in the world, just that drag race.
Joe, a fabulous 5:01, Laurie Johns and a ball of fire. All in all, a tremendous final for the Winston Invitational.
Well, it was nice for Winston. If we could have gave him a 4, it would have been more exciting. You know, they always want to get them numbers, but we got the win light, and my team did an outstanding job this weekend. You know, we almost didn't qualify. And to get the win light 2 years in a row, win the Winston Invitational, that makes Joe Amato and the team plenty happy.
And to take this combination to Atlanta in just 1 week, that'll make everybody happy as well.
Yeah, I think the track over there is probably a little bit closer to like this than it is to Gainesville. You know, it's a little slippery and all, so at least we've got to tune up and, you know, you got to thank God for these wins. They're hard to come by.
Indeed, thanks.
Thanks.
Joe Amato, always very humble in the winner's circle.
Here is a fabulous Pro Stock final. Two of the greatest names that have ever raced the category. Warren Johnson in the Oldsmobile, Bob Glidden in the Ford. The fans love the intermate competition, and they know the personality of these drivers. They know that they're really different individuals who've, well, kind of had their outs with each other, but maybe have patched some of that up as of late. This has all the earmarks of being a beauty.
And both drivers looking to come back after a couple of soft seasons, really.
That's right, and they left right together. It's as good as advertised. Who won it? The win light flashes for Warren Johnson. 7:29 to a 7:30, and they left together. I'll say it was a beauty. Down on the starting line is Brock Yates with Warren's wife.
Well, Arlene, you just had a talk with Etta, and I'm sure that you have competed for years against each other, and it's nice to see such camaraderie, but it's also real nice to win, too.
Well, Etta and I are really pretty good friends, and we do anything to help each other. We're rivalries on the line, and we'd like to... we don't want to see anyone have an unfortunate situation with an accident. We always wish each other a safe trip down the track.
Well, it was a great race between a couple of great professionals. It could have been a whole lot closer than that.
It sure was, but I'll take a final round anytime.
Congratulations, and Warren as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, she just won one of the greatest Pro Stock races of all time, so let's take another look at it. The two drivers leave the line almost together, within 0.02 of a second on the reaction time. Bob Glidden's car appears to take a little initial lead, but that doesn't hold up very long. Warren Johnson soon pulls side by side, and the cars drive down the track almost tied together. But as they reach the finish line, it's Warren Johnson.
Boy, I'll tell you, yeah.
I'm going to kiss this car.
Pro Stock races don't get a lot more exciting than that.
Oh, it had to be tight at the other end. I don't know if I left on Bob, but all I know is I won, and that's all that counted.
It was a race of horsepower.
Oh, well, I think we may have had a little advantage there, but I don't think a whole lot. Bob's coming back, and you know, everybody knows he's tough.
You've had a great weekend all the way around. Your team car, Scott Jeffrey, ran as good as you did.
Actually, he ran better than I did during qualifying, but we learned off of his passes and put a little bit of magic in this thing.
Anytime you race Bob Glidden, you two are old rivals, not close friends, but you're getting along.
I think a lot of people got a misconception about Bob and I don't think there's any animosity, at least from my side on. Bob's a good, tough competitor, and I respect him for what he's done, and I think everybody should.
And we respect you for what you've done here today at the Winston Invitational.
Thank you very much, Steve.
$16,000 to Warren Johnson.
What a great show by everybody here at Rockingham. Joe Amato, Al Hoffman, great win and funny car. Warren Johnson wins Pro Stock. For Big Daddy Don Garlitz and Steve Evans, I'm Brock Yates. Thanks for joining us.